Hi, and welcome to this week's edition of Mindful Monday. So if it's your first time here, well, you're welcome to say where you're coming from in the comments below. Or if you're watching the replay, you can also do that. Also, if you are coming for the first time and you write mindful in the comments, we'll put a link in there and you can follow the link, and that will get you your weekly Mindful Monday cheat sheets, which come out Sundays at 6:45 p.m. All right, and of course you can put any questions in there as well, or you can direct message them to me. So today we're talking about resilience, and resilience is defined as kind of the capacity to recover from difficulties, from adversity, from trauma, from tragedy, threats, or any kind of significant sources of stress. And you want to be able to recover quickly, of course. And so our resilience is determined by a number of factors. It is somewhat genetic, and of course our childhood development is going to play a factor in it, as well as our culture and our upbringing and environment. That's a little nature, nurture kind of thing. And then we also have our coping habits, and our sense of humor is great coping, and spirituality, whether it be, higher self, the universe, etc., etc. So what resilience is not is it's not a victim mentality. It's not a sense of learned helplessness, and it's definitely not hopelessness. There are 6 pillars to resilience. The first is going to be the physical hardiness. A second would be your level of emotional equilibrium, if you will. And then we move on to mental clarity and toughness in mentality, shall we say. And then there's that whole spiritual, higher self connection. And then there's the loving relationships or strong social connection facet. And then they say influential leadership within your community. Now, your community doesn't have to mean the city that you live in. It can be your family community or a community that you're involved in, kind of thing. So when we want to have a stronger sense or adopt a more resilient attitude, we kind of have to look at where, because somebody might be very physically hardy, but not feel so resilient emotionally or mentally. So the different components are where you would want to work different kind of styles. So there are 5 key resilience skills. The first one is going to be a level of self-awareness, because if you're not aware, you can't really change anything. An example of self-awareness can even be a little mindfulness kind of practice. Number 2 for skills is going to be your attention, the flexibility, the stability of your focus kind of thing. Number 3 is going to be letting go physically, and that means being able to calm the body down. So when we get nervous, tight, we tense everything up, and so there's ways to calm the body down. Number 4 is going to be letting go mentally, and that's going to be calming the mind down. And we can do that with cognitive diffusion. We can calm mind and body with breathing techniques, etc. too. And then the final one is going to be accessing and sustaining positive emotions and outlook. Okay? So in order to adopt these more resilient attitudes, to have better coping, if you will, because coping is what it's really all about, to the stress response, some of the things that you'll want to do, regardless of which one of those 6 different places that you're working on, 6 different pillars you're working on, is you'll want to face difficulties kind of head on. Face anything that's coming, the challenge, etc. Because if we're pushing things aside or we're avoiding things, we go into that, anxiety kind of state. You also want to be open to asking for support and advice. It doesn't make you helpless. It doesn't make you weak. That's what we're all about, being human. You want to spend some time meditating. So there's so many different ways to meditate. People, as a registered yoga teacher, meditation, yoga therapist, people are always like, oh, I hate meditating. But there's literally hundreds of different ways to meditate, and it doesn't have to be the 10 minutes of silence or anything like that. So you do want to find some quiet time to meditate. Then you want to find ways to regulate your emotions in order to find calm. You always want to be down regulating. You can do that by taking 3 deep breaths every couple hours. You can do EFT, which is the tapping. We've covered that in other Mindful Mondays. We'll probably cover it again. So many of these things kind of interrelate. There's a technique called havening, which is similar to tapping, where you're kind of touching yourself. We haven't really covered that, but I think I'll go into that in one of our soon-to-be Mindful Mondays. There's all different things that you can do. You can take those, like I said, those deep diaphragmatic breaths to calm yourself down. You definitely want to be exercising. Exercise is what our bodies are meant to do. We have to move our bodies in order to be calm and to be able to cope. You want to be fueling your body, obviously, with nutrient-rich foods, and you want to get adequate sleep. If you're not getting adequate sleep, then your body cannot restore itself, and you're just not going to be as resilient, even if you're the most resilient person. Not getting adequate sleep for a period of time will really affect you. You want to practice patience too, patience with yourself and with others, because things do happen and there's never going to be this always perfect circle of things to do. So practicing patience, and it is not my forte, I will say that, is very important. And then you want to maintain a positive outlook. And when things do go awry, as they are going to, then you want to look for the meaning or opportunities for growth if it's something you did wrong, so that it's not, because in NLP we say there is no failure, only feedback, which is, you know, what can I do better? How can this, so that kind of thing. And you also really want to become aware of your thoughts and your internal dialogue. You can use cognitive diffusion techniques too. So if you have a very nasty inner critic, you can think about, like, an NLP technique would be to kind of turn the volume down on that voice and see what happens with that. And you can just be playful. Being playful and curious is so wonderful for resilience. Or if you're very auditory and that voice is like drilling at you in this drill sergeant voice, then you can imagine changing the voiceover to Donald Duck and it's going. So it just kind of makes it interesting there. You also want to really watch your language. So we've talked about this before. If I say I am is a powerful statement. So if I say I'm tired, of course I'm going to start like leaning back and getting tired. If you wanted to express something that's not so positive, you might be saying something more like I'm feeling tired, or I'm experiencing hunger. And it's just distancing you a little bit. And it's funny, if you speak a different language, you might notice, at least the European languages, they don't really say I am hungry, they say I have hunger, or stuff like that. So I think that's really interesting that we here like to say I am everything, but then we're kind of holding on to that as our identity. Also, you don't really want to should on yourself. I should do this, I should do that. It's kind of, you know, putting a negative spin on things. And watch out for buts, because buts diminish the value. So I would do that, but, so then I'm not really going to do it anyway. And you really want to also be aware of black and white thinking, that all or none thinking. I'm going to call it overgeneralizations. If you're saying everything, nothing, everyone, all the time kind of thing. Of course, practice gratitude. Gratitude changes the structure of our brains. You really want to practice forgiveness and self-forgiveness as well. You can practice Ho'oponopono if you like, or just if you have your own little kind of practice for that. You can utilize a coping mantra. I've heard some people say, I love myself. So you'd be saying in your own mind, I love you, I love you, I love you, or I love myself. Or you could say, I've got this, kind of throughout the day. You do want to practice self-compassion anytime you are feeling down, or, you know, things go awry, and treat yourself as you would, say, your best friend or a small child or a little animal kind of thing. One of the things I like, it's from the Ayurveda school, is Abhyanga. So it's self-massage using oil. So I like to do it at night, and you can use coconut oil. If it's a cold season, or if you have like achy joints, you can also use sesame oil, which is really juicy too. Of course, you can do NLP modeling. So if you're going through something, you can find someone who goes through it smoothly and kind of imagine stepping into their shoes, if you will. And when things do go right, I always advise anchoring into those. That's that anchor. You can touch your fingers together, name the feeling, say a word or think a word or phrase kind of thing. Certainly journaling or doing craft items around your core values. If you're in touch with your core values and you're really following your heart, your gut, and your core values, then you can get through a lot of things because you're on your path, shall we say. And breathwork, we already talked about that a little bit, but breathwork in general can be so, whether it be pranayama and yoga or kind of the hypnotic kind of breathwork, we can utilize so many yoga breaths and different types of breath to lift us up. So there's breath of joy, which is like, I mean, I'd be standing, and I think I can share a video of that. Or you can utilize the 3 deep breaths, lengthening the exhales, maybe even making that ocean sound to calm yourself. So our breath and our physical movement, whether it be tapping, yoga, walking, etc., can really regulate our emotions, our mental capacities as well. So those are some of my favorite tips on becoming more resilient. So I hope you've enjoyed this Mindful Monday, and we'll see you soon.